Volume 2 of Under the Oak Tree is officially out, and I am behind on the times and I need to catch up. So I need to read this. So that's what we're going to do today. So if you haven't seen it already, I have already read the first volume of Under the Oak Tree. You can check out that video here if you haven't already. Some warning that there will be spoilers from the first volume, but there will be no spoilers for the second volume here, which is absolutely beautiful looking book. On the edge here, it says, "Oh, I shall love thee until my dying breath." They say to cure me of my lost voice, you need to go ahead and subscribe. That way, I'll be able to continue to do book reviews and talk like I usually will in my videos without sounding kind of like a frog. So if you go ahead and subscribe, I'm sure that will help. So I'm really excited because Under the Oak Tree, I had originally read it as the Manta webcomic a very, very long time ago. And so I remember reading and catching all the way up to what I think is actually going to be the halfway point of this light novel version. Now, I knew there was a light novel a long time ago. I didn't end up reading it for whatever reason. And then now that it's been like printed and published, I'm like, oh, yeah, here we go. So, from my understanding, this book is going to basically continue off where the last one did, where we have Maxie, who is our main character. She unfortunately has been treated very, very poorly for her stutter. So, she's royalty, but she's been locked away and her father really abused her. And so when she ends up getting basically like married off to this like war hero, Sir Riftan, he basically marries her. They consummate their marriage, and then he kind of like pieces out for a little bit and kind of leaves her, just kind of chilling. And so some events ensue, and basically he gives her kind of like free reign of the castle, and she kind of takes it on herself to try to be like this proper wife. And so she is like working on updating the castle, making it like pretty and making sure everybody's taken care of and all this stuff, while also trying to work on her own confidence. And what I really like about this story is that you watch her go from just being super, super terrified all the time because of the abuse that she's been dealing with for her entire life to becoming a bit more confident in herself and discovering her affinity for magic. So that's a part I really like as well. She's learning magic. And then she's also really just trying to find who she is and grow past like the bad hand that she had to deal with when she was growing up. And now she has this opportunity to be someone better. Riftan does come to the castle every once in a while. And I honestly don't like him. I've seen some people say in the comments that he does get better and he has a lot of good reasons for acting the way he does. But for me, he's just like really controlling and doesn't want her to be near anyone or anything, and he's just like really possessive of her, and it just gives me the ick. But I do really like Maxie as a character, and I really like just following her adventures and her journey to becoming an even better version of herself. So I'm expecting more of that in this book. And then because this book basically the springtime happens, and so she's basically done the whole winter stuff all there, and then there's this woman, this like sorceress, who was supposed to marry Riften. And there was like this whole rumor in the first book about how he was going to divorce Maxie and then marry her. And he was like, what the heck? No, like I like Maxie, but Maxie doesn't really believe that because she doesn't really know what love is because she's never been cared for. And so she's starting to feel a bit of hope. And then this woman shows up and she just starts to stir up a bunch of drama. And it makes Maxie question herself further. And so I'm curious to see where the rest of this adventure is going to go because it definitely catches up past where I was in the webcomic because I had not met the sorceress visiting the castle yet. So, well, maybe I think I vaguely remember maybe like one or two scenes, but nothing to like the level that it's going to cover in this book here. So I'm really excited. So without further ado, let's just crack this book right open and get to reading. So I'm a little bit more than 100 pages into Under the Oak Tree Volume 2, and here are my thoughts so far. This book just gets straight into it. Like it immediately just continues off of what happened last time. So you're starting at like chapter 12, which if you didn't know that it was like a web comic and a light novel, you might be like, what the heck is going on? Like this doesn't make any sense. But knowing that, it makes sense to me. It's just where the book was kind of cut off for the next volume. And I'm really enjoying it. I really love Maxie's character. I think that she's just so realistic. I know that a lot of people had kind of been annoyed with her because she's very timid and easily startled and cries a lot and stuff and doesn't really believe in herself. But like when you've been abused for 20 years, it's not realistic for her to suddenly just be like, oh, yeah, like I'm okay now. Like, no, we're watching a slow progression of her growing and learning and exploring and learning to stand up for herself and become stronger and not let her abuse decide who she is. But it takes time. Like, she hasn't even been in the castle for a year. And of course, Riften's character still continues to annoy me because he is very possessive and over controlling and like all of this stuff. And it's really interesting because Maxie even notes that in the book, and she kind of compared it how she felt being trapped in her old life. And I was like, oh, interesting kind of thing going on here. So hopefully that means that we'll see some changes with Riften's character. Like, I'm sure there's a reason he's like this, but it's just not good. It's really toxic. But yeah, where we're at so far is basically Maxie continuing her, lady of the castle duties. She's trying to make everything get ready, all set up and look pretty for the arrival of basically some royal people, including Princess Agnes, who was supposed to be the person that was going to marry Riften if Maxie was not in the picture. And so we see a really different side of Maxie where she's just like really jealous and she's like, oh, who is this? Like, this isn't me. Why am I behaving this way? Like, what's going on? And I think it's cool because you get to see a different side of Maxie. There's still not enough scenes with Ruth, though. Ruth is my favorite, the mage. We've seen him a couple of times, and he's just so good at guiding Maxie and letting her feel heard and seen. Should be a romance between those two, not with Riften, but I digress. So, with Princess Agnes, so we are now at the point where I have caught up and I don't know what happens next in the story. So that's exciting because Princess Agnes is not what you expect. And you're going to have to read the book to kind of find out what that means. But I would love to see like a long term friendship with Maxie because she needs some female buddies. Like she needs somebody else to continue to help her get out of her shell and pull her outside and go to festivals and stuff. Like she just went to a festival and it was so much fun. So yeah, definitely having a really fun time with this book. It is definitely one of those books where if you don't know what you're getting into, you're going to be really surprised because it's not like a regular book. It's like various kind of chapters that all add up to the story. Like that sounds exactly like a book. Like how do I even describe this? I'm a writer. I know I can describe this. Think of it like a comic because you have a very very large kind of like chapter that is various different scenes that continue along with the same story, and it doesn't follow your typical kind of story arc that you would expect in like a book where you have like your beginning, your middle, your end, like your climax at the end, that kind of like stuff going on, because this is just part of the story that's been collected and bound into a volume. So it doesn't follow that typical kind of story structure. But it does it really well. Like I personally really like this book. I find it really addictive and I just love Maxie's character growth and I'm really excited to see like where the rest of the story is going to go now that I don't know what's going to happen next because we're all caught up to where I was back in like 2020 or whenever it was. So, yay. So, I'm going to continue to read this book and I will update you around the halfway mark. So, I will see you then. So, I am a little bit more than halfway through the second volume of Under the Oak Tree. And okay, there are two scenes that really stood out to me, and I'm just like, over them. The first scene that really just like made me kind of giggle was when Maxie was trying to explain that she was on her period to Riften, and he had no idea what she was talking about, what she was hinting towards. And it was just like, it was like a funny but also like a really wholesome scene, and I love having moments with those characters like that because I'm not a big Riften fan at all. I find him really toxic, so having like a little scene like that was just like, okay, that's cute. And then the other one was Maxie putting him in his place and like being like, what are you doing? What's going on here? And I love that. I love watching her finally start to stand up for herself and ask for what she wants and take what she wants and do what she wants. And I love it. You really see it in this book. And then also just overall following her adventure and like her introduction to the other princess, Princess Agnes, I thought was really interesting and went in a direction that I didn't expect. And I hope to see more of that kind of interaction with those characters. And I really love just following how she's growing as a character. For me, this book, I don't read it for the romance. Like I mentioned, I'm not really the biggest fan of the romance in this book. What I read it for is that I love the world building in it, and I love just Maxie's personal journey and her struggles, and it does seem very realistic to me. You can't expect someone to have experienced 20 years of abuse to magically just be confident after they leave. This book is doing a really good job and slowly showing that as the months progress and she realizes that she's safe now and she's in a place that she can thrive. And I really love that for her. I'm so excited to see like where the rest of her character goes, where the rest of her magic is going to go, because we know like she's been training with Ruth to learn more about like healing magic. Like she wants to be useful, and this is something that she's really, really interested in and has a talent for. And so I'm curious because, like, on the cover, it looks like she's wielding some kind of like fire magic. And I'm like, is that girl gonna use fire magic? Like, what is she? I don't know. But I certainly hope so because I can see her just kicking butt. Like, she starts off as this very, like, sheltered, timid, scared woman. And now she's thriving and she's slowly growing into a better version of herself, the version that she's always been that was always suppressed. And that is a more confident woman who's organized and challenges authority and isn't scared to stand up for what she believes in. And I think that that makes her a pretty good like queen in this sense for sure. Even though I know it's like he's a knight, he's not actually a king, but like he's like so well renowned and like has so much money, he basically is one. I think something I would love to see as the series continues is for Maxie to actually leave the castle. I know right now, like Riftan's like, you can't leave the castle, like you gotta stay here, you gotta be safe, I gotta protect you, blah blah blah, I gotta like confine you, blah blah blah, that kind of stuff. But I'm hoping that as she learns more magic and hopefully does fire magic, because like what? That would be cool. That maybe she and Riftan can start to actually go outside of the castle and maybe she can help fight the monsters and stuff. That would be really cool to see Maxie go from like how she was at the beginning of the story to like fighting monsters. I, for one, would love to see that. So I'm going to continue to read this book and I will update you when I finish it. So I will see you then with my final thoughts.
It only goes in later when.
Last night, I finished reading Under the Oak Tree Volume 2, and I honestly really, really liked this book. I think that Maxie's character development was just fabulous, and I really loved watching her grow, watching her stand up for herself for like the first time ever, watching her magic, and really learning so much about the world that she lives in. I'm definitely still not a Riften fan. I still find him too possessive and controlling and all of that. But I will admit that there were some cute scenes between the two leads for sure. Like it it was wholesome, okay? It was wholesome. I'll give them that. And I'm starting to see maybe like Riften has some kind of suppressed like trauma from his childhood and like maybe he doesn't even realize that he's treated Maxie like a pet, and now that she's finally like, aware of stuff like this and standing up for herself, maybe like he's going to change his ways is kind of my hope that that would be nice. But yeah, I was really surprised that I was actually like, oh, that's a pretty good scene between these two characters. I think this book was definitely missing more Ruth content though. Like I'm low key a Maxie Ruth shipper. So it's like, I want more Ruth time. Like, they have just such good banter, and he's helped her with like the biggest challenges, especially when it comes to like her stutter and helping her feel confident and not making her feel useless and really helping her understand like math and budgeting and like how to run the castle and all this stuff. And I just love Ruth, and I wish that there was more Ruth. And he's always just like going out of his way to help her. And I'm like, "Mm, Ruth, you're so good." So hopefully there'll be more Ruth in the next volume. But yes, I just love following Maxie. Like, there's some parts of this book, like, are they the best written? Not necessarily. Do I find it kind of gross the way they describe the kissing scenes? Absolutely. There's just something about like the usage of the word warm that I just find really icky for some reason. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I just find that kind of gross. I don't like I don't know. I don't know. But this book was such a fun journey, and it went in a direction that I didn't even expect, and I absolutely loved. And I'm like, the way that this book ended, I'm like, oh my goodness, like, I can't wait to find out what happens next. And like, is Maxie pregnant? Because okay, I have a theory, and obviously I don't know, so this doesn't count as a spoiler, but we know that she and Riften, you know, they get it on very often. And so it's like she wants a child, like they both want a child, an heir, like that's what's expected of her. And she would be a wonderful parent. I can see that. Oh. But like the reason that I'm kind of thinking it is because like there were two kind of mentions of something that are very similar to like pregnancy symptoms, which is like the first, to be fair, she was on a ship, but she had some morning sickness. Now, was it because she was on a ship and that's why she felt sick? Or is it because she's pregnant? Secondarily, they mentioned her tender breasts, and they don't usually say that. They've said like swollen and stuff like that, but I just feel like using the word tender, that's another pregnancy symptom. And with Riften going to be away for many, many months, like, I don't know, it just seems like the perfect time. Like, he'll win the battles and whatnot, he'll come back, and boom, his wife's going to be pregnant. Like, I could really see that happening, and I think that would be a really interesting angle for the story to go. But at the same time, I also want Maxie to just beat somebody up. Like, I would love to watch her just like fight some bad guys. Like, we got some good goblin scenes, like with her and her horse, with a little bit of magic going on. But I want to see her just like kick butt, because like that would just be amazing. And I'm also waiting for the day that Riften finds out that Maxie was abused, because this man will literally burn the ground for her. He will probably kill her father, the Duke. And like, I want to see that, to be honest. And I hope that she makes more female friends. I think that this book really made me realize that that was something that's missing in her life. I mean, she has like her maids and her servants and stuff, but I feel like having like another just girl confidant, I would love to see in Maxie's world. So yeah, I had a wonderful time with this book, and it's absolutely gorgeous too. So not only is it gorgeous, it's also just a really fun story. Now, I've mentioned it doesn't read like a regular story arc, but as long as you keep that in mind, I think you'll have a good time with this. So today we are going to be awarding Under the Oak Tree Volume 2 a total of 4 stars. I think that's what I gave the first one as well. There's just something so addictive about this series that I just cannot put it down. I absolutely devour it, and like, it's not even the most exciting thing. It's the same way about like when I talk about literary fictions. It's literally just following somebody doing their everyday stuff. But I'm just obsessed with that kind of story. Like, I would love to just watch her do laundry. Like, I would love that. And like, that's the kind of story that I just really love. And this story, you're just following her as she's growing as a person, as well as taking on the responsibilities of being lady of the castle. Now, I know that doesn't sound that exciting, but for me, I find that really, really exciting. And so I think that's where there's some mixed reviews, perhaps, like with the series, that if you don't like that kind of thing, again, it's like a literary fiction. If you don't like it, it's not for you. You will not enjoy the story. But if you like literary fictions, you like just following somebody around as they grow as a person, then you will certainly, certainly, certainly like this series for sure. I certainly adore it, and I can't wait for the next volume. Like, I think it's going to come out 2026. I think when this video is out though, it's 2026. So hello from the future. Well, I guess hello from the past. Hello to the future. Yeah, I think the next volume is going to come out the end of 2026 is my prediction, because the first one did and the second one did. So I'm very excited about it. I'm very, very excited about it. So the next book that I'm going to be reading is Shadows of Self by Brandon Sanderson. This is the second book in the Wax and Wane trilogy, which is also the fifth book in the Mistborn series, but it's like confusing because it's like the three original Mistborn books, and then this is like the new era of Mistborn. So, yes, this is the second book in the new era that I'm going to be reading. So, if you're interested in watching me read Shadows of Self or any other book that happens to be on my Never Ending TBR, definitely go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. And with that, I'm going to wish you warm wishes and fish kisses, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.